When I was 23, 24, people would tell me, once you hit $10,000 a month in passive income, you'll never want to work again. $10,000 a month? Really?
It doesn't get you that far.
It does not get you far at all. In fact, I think 20,000 is the new 10,000.
I've had Airbnbs for over 5 years now, and they've been wildly successful. When I initially bought my first one back in 2017, I bought it for $200,000, and it was renting for over $4,000 a month. My mortgage was only $1,200, and so we were making over $4,000 a month in gross revenue.
Your work ethic is what makes you rich. If you don't have work ethic, you'll never be rich. You'll never have passive income because you haven't done enough work. It's like a vehicle saying, yeah, I just want to coast. Like, I want my vehicle to coast at 60. Well, then you better get it up to 120. Like, you're gonna have to go past what it is that you expect to get.
What is the holy grail of passive income? It used to be that real estate was the way everyone wanted to achieve passive income. But now there are so many different options digitally with both crypto and other businesses. So in this video, we're gonna go over what are the best passive income streams this year. If you're new to my channel, my name's Ryan Pineda. I'm a real estate investor and entrepreneur, and the goal of this channel is to help you live the wealthy way. If you don't know what that is, you can go to wealthyway.com and get access to all of our free resources, including our online course, our planner app, and our Discord community. So go check it out. Now, before I go over this list, let me just start off by saying that nothing is truly passive. There's always some kind of work required in order for you to maintain that passive income. If you own real estate, somebody's got to still manage these properties, and even if it's not you, you're still managing the property manager. And one thing that I found in my life is that most things are passive for a time until they're not. Maybe the market shifts and it causes the return to plummet, or the demand for whatever it is you were doing to decrease. Or perhaps you've got real estate and all of these repairs become needed, eating up all of your passive income. Or maybe the industry that you're in that is providing this passive income becomes so different that it's no longer relevant, or the returns have just gotten significantly worse. Now, with that disclaimer being said, let's go over the list, starting with the ones that are the least amount of passive income all the way to the most amount of passive income. So the first one to hit the list is one that has been the tried and true way to create passive income over time, but it is the one that gives you the least amount of it. That would be real estate. This is the least passive in the amount of income it produces and the amount of attention that you have to give it. And the reason I know this is because I own over 360 doors nationwide, so I got a pretty good idea. So when you talk about passive income with real estate, you might make a couple $100 a month in cash flow if you're lucky. And in order to achieve that couple $100, you've got to put a renter in there. You've got to make sure that they're paying on time. You got to vet them. You got to fix any issues they have. There's a whole lot of maintenance that goes into creating that couple $100. Now, I don't believe anyone should self-manage their rental properties because it's not worth the return on your time. You've got so many other ways to make more than the amount you could just pay a property manager. So let's just say that you're wise enough to hire a property manager to make it more passive for yourself. Well, each and every month, you're still gonna have to look over the P&Ls to see how your rental properties are performing. And the thing is, once you start accumulating a lot of units, different things are happening every single month that are greatly fluctuating your cash flows. One month you might have a bunch of leases go up and now you've got vacant units. You might end up dealing with some evictions and other things. But another month you might get hit with a ton of different repairs that you weren't expecting. Case in point, I own Airbnbs in Big Bear, California, and I recently had to dish out $50,000 to repair some big items that I did not expect. I paid close to $20,000 to do a brand new deck on one of my very first properties I bought out there. After 4 years, the deck was falling apart and we couldn't repair it. We had to replace the entire thing because it was a hazard. On another property, I had to pay $20,000 to replace the entire plumbing system. We had dealt with different clogs throughout the years, but this time we could not fix them the way that we normally have. And as they did a deeper dive, they realized that all of these pipes had to be replaced and that they had been leaking for years. And those were just the big items. There were other maintenance issues that we had to address. The one thing I'll say is whenever you buy real estate in climates like that, where it snows and it's really cold, it's gonna damage things a lot quicker than warm weather places. Now you might be thinking, Ryan, you said you Airbnb those. Those gotta be much higher cash flow than the typical long-term rentals that you're only getting a couple $100 on. This is true, but whenever you do Airbnb, your properties are always gonna have more wear and tear, and you're gonna end up dealing with some of these issues that I described. And if you get enough of them in 1 year like I did this last year, it can eat up a lot of your cash flow from the year. So if I was strictly relying on that passive income to live, I would not be looking good right now. Now look, even though I'm telling you what will happen when you own rental properties, it's not like I'm saying don't own rental properties. They're fantastic. That's why I own so many. The reason that many people own rentals is beyond the passive income. It's for the tax benefits, it's for the principal pay down, it's for the appreciation. All these things make it so valuable. But the reality is the passive income for rental properties are probably not as high as you think, just due to all the things I mentioned. So if you decide you want to look for a higher stream of passive income, that would lead you to number 2 on our list, which is lending. Now when it comes to lending, deciding on what or who you want to lend your money with is the big key. And most people would assume you need a whole bunch of money to be a lender, but that's actually not the case. Let's just say you want to lend for real estate. There are multiple ways you can get paid depending on how you lend. The 2 main ways people get paid are either straight interest or doing profit split. So maybe you find somebody that's willing to pay you 12% on your money. If you've got $100,000 you can lend, that means you're gonna be making $1,000 a month passively. Now this is a true $1,000 a month as long as you trust the person you are lending to. You don't have to deal with the maintenance. You don't have to deal with any kind of management. Just trust that this person is gonna pay you the money. Or on the other side, you can just do it for a profit split. So let's say you're gonna lend $100,000 for this property, and then you guys are gonna split the profit at the end. Maybe the flip makes $50,000, and now you just made 25 grand on your $100,000. It's all passive for you because the other person's the one who did all the work, and you get to make 25 grand. So lending is great when it comes to real estate investing as long as you trust the person you're lending to. Now you might be thinking, Ryan, I don't have $100,000. What do I do if I have less money? Well, there are a few different options. The first is that you can be what's called a gap lender. This is actually how I utilize most of my money when I go to flip properties. I'll go and get a hard money loan for the majority of the deal, and then I'll go get one of my lenders to fund the down payment and interest payments. So I might only need $40,000 to $50,000 from them, and I'll give them a good interest rate in return. And by doing this, it allows them to lend on a deal that they otherwise wouldn't have because they couldn't fund the whole deal. But let's just say you have less than that and you're trying to figure out how you can lend your money. I'll give you an example. One of my employees wanted to go and flip cars and he needed the money to do it. So I lent him $10,000 to get started. The business model was that he was gonna buy cars for $2,000 or $3,000, try and go flip them for $4,000 or $5,000, and we go make a couple $1,000s each car. And the deal we worked out was I would lend him the $10,000 and we'd go split profit on whatever he sold. After about a month or 2 of doing it, he flipped a few cars, he gave me my $10,000 back, and I got $4,000 back towards my profit share. So in the span of a couple of months, I made $4,000 on my $10,000, which is a really high return. And I literally didn't do anything. All I had to do was trust that this person was gonna be able to do what they thought they were gonna do, and that I trust them with not losing my money. That's the biggest key when it comes to lending, is not necessarily about the return that you think you're gonna get, but about who you're giving your money to. Are they trustworthy? Are they gonna protect it? And can you count on them to pay you back at the very minimum? So lending can be a great stream of passive income, but let's jump into the next level, which is number 3 on our list, e-commerce automation. So I have a company called Lunar Ecom where we create e-commerce stores for clients. As it stands today, we manage over 300 stores that we have created, and the business model is pretty simple. You pay us an initiation fee and you provide the credit to buy inventory for your store. We handle everything else. We get the store set up, we get the store stocked with inventory, we handle all the operations with fulfillment, with returns, with any issues, and then we split profits at the end of the month. It's a pretty simple model, but understand that with Amazon automation, it is a long-term play. You're not able to scale a store right away just due to the constraints of Amazon, but in time, as your store gains a good history of sales and reviews, Amazon starts to allow you to scale it further and further and to do more sales and in turn make more net profit. And then for their store to net $10,000 a month thereafter. Now here's the thing people have to realize with e-commerce is that it is a real business. There are operations happening every day with product fulfillment, with product research, with returns, and all of the things that allow the store to produce revenue. It's not like you just open a store and then the money grows on a tree and all of a sudden you're just making passive income. I wish it were like that, but unfortunately the Fed is the only people that can just print money and legitimately grow money off of a tree doing nothing. So we have to run these stores as businesses in order to achieve the profits that we want our clients to get. And all my businesses, we're always looking at ways to optimize them, to make them better, and to shift and adapt as the world changes. But I'll say in the end, this business is very passive. It's much more passive than in real estate and property management. And at scale, it can make you a lot more money than just a couple $100 a month. And I'm excited with some of the things we have in development and we're testing to make our clients even more profitable. So if you want to learn more about that business, you can book a call with my team at lunarecom.com. And that leads me to number 4 on this list. Now, the thing you got to realize as we go up this list is that even though the passive income amount is getting higher, the perceived risk is also rising with it. So with that caveat being made, number 4 on our list is crypto and NFTs. There are so many different ways to make passive income in crypto. A lot of people refer to this as DeFi. On one end of the spectrum, you've got these things that promise 300,000% APY. Anyone with half a brain knows that these are Ponzi schemes. You might be able to write it up for a certain period of time and think you're a genius, but you always know that at some point it is going to crumble and you better get out before that happens. But then there are safer ones that allow you to stake your crypto for a certain interest rate. Some companies will offer to pay you 5 or 6% to stake your Bitcoin or Ethereum. A big one a lot of people are doing are staking stable coins at a higher interest rate. If you don't know what a stable coin is, essentially it's just equal to a dollar. So instead of having a US dollar, you could have Tether or USDC. These are cryptocurrencies that are always equal to a dollar. But the big difference is instead of having a dollar in your savings account that makes 0.001%, you can go get USDC and stake it and make 10 or 12%. And when you do that, you don't have to worry about the volatility that Bitcoin has. But another big one are NFTs that can give you passive income. I've done a video where I talked about how a project I'm in called Neo Tokyo is paying me $36,000 a month in passive income. And it's kind of crazy because I do absolutely nothing and it just produces this cryptocurrency called bytes every single day. Now, like most cryptocurrencies, the price of bytes is always fluctuating. I've seen it as low as $50. I've seen it as high as $170. So the passive income is constantly changing and flowing depending on what the price of bytes are. But even if it's at $50, I'm still making $18,000 a month passively. And I can tell you when my NFT comes out, there just might be some kind of passive income element to it. If you want to know when that's going to drop and potentially get on the whitelist, make sure you follow me on Twitter at Ryan Pineda Show. But overall, I expect there to be some huge passive income opportunities in crypto, but they are going to be riskier. Now, all of that leads me to the 5th stream of passive income that I think is the highest form of passive income in which you can achieve, and that is through owning your own business. All the businesses I've built to this point where I don't have to put in a ton of work make me more money than any amount of crypto, more than any e-com store, more than any real estate I own. It's not even close. Now, it didn't happen overnight. I had to build the systems, I had to build the brands, I had to hire all the people that make it passive for me. And I've realized over the years that nothing will ever touch building a good business. Now look, you may not have the time or expertise to build a business, but if you've got some kind of money, if you can invest in the right person who's building a business, then it can be very passive for you. I'm fortunate that my businesses have made me millions of dollars over the years, but here's the truth when it comes to business. It is the riskiest endeavor of all. I forget the stat, but the majority of small businesses never make it past year 5. And a lot of people dump their life savings into all the expenses associated with starting the business. And then they put a whole bunch of time into working into it, only for it to not work out. So what I want you to realize is in this entire list that I just gave you, even though it goes from the least amount of passive income to the most amount of passive income potentially, each step of the way has more and more risk. Owning a business is the riskiest thing you can do. And it's so funny because so many people talk about how risky crypto is, or they talk about how opening up an e-com store is too risky for them. But the reality is, nothing is more risky than opening up business. But if you do it right, nothing can beat the reward. But as a wise man once said, you gotta risk it for the biscuit.
I mean, obviously I'm in the real estate space where we're very big on passive income, right? And so many people are like, dude, I gotta get enough passive income so I can retire by the time I'm, to your point, 30, back in the day.
Yep.
And I'm like, first off, what are you gonna do the rest of your life? Number one, if you're retired at 30, you're gonna be bored after a few weeks.
Yeah.
That's number one. Number two, you know, real estate is hardly anything passive. You know, there's a lot that goes into managing real estate. Mm-hmm. And then number three, though, you know, the people try to get to passive income way too fast. And it's like, bro, you need to figure out how to earn income, like you're saying. Figure out like a job, a skill. To me, like until you have mastered a skill that can make you 250 grand a year, you don't have a skill yet.
Yeah. And the earned income and passive income, what happens is that passive income became such a sexy word. And it just kind of allows people to want to sit in that laziness. Yeah. Like it just harbors, like it makes the laziest person comfortable and thinking like, oh, I'm just trying to get passive income. Like, and it's an excuse to be lazy. Yeah. And it's like, your work ethic is what makes you rich. If you don't have work ethic, you'll never be rich. You'll never have passive income because you haven't done enough work. It's like a vehicle saying, yeah, I just want to coast. Like I want my vehicle to coast at 60. Well, then you better get it up to 120. Like you're going to have to go past what it is that you expect to get. You have to work past that. You don't just coast at a level from 0 to coasting at 60 miles an hour for the rest of your life. Like it don't work like that. You have to be willing to work, and that work ethic is something that you can't buy. It's not something that you can skip past. Like you have to work. And when you say real estate, it's a lot of work that goes into building a real estate portfolio, to building out your homes, when especially if you're doing fix and flips. Like it's a lot of work and unexpected occurrences that happen where you have to step up and you have to go out and be resourceful. You have to be the problem solver. You have to understand this, and you don't get that by being lazy, saying, oh yeah, I just want passive income, and you think, oh, I'm gonna get a property manager and they're gonna do everything. Yeah. Nah, property managers suck. They quit. Then what do you do? Well, what was my property manager doing? Oh, I'm not willing to go do that. Yeah. Now what do you do? Now, now I don't have a property manager, so my tenants are upset, and now they don't want to pay rent no more because the shower's not working, and this is messed up in the house, and now they're complaining on me. They don't want to pay rent. So now I'm fighting that because I thought this was passive and I wouldn't have to do anything. Yeah. One thing I always tell our students in regards to real estate investing is when you're first starting out, do everything yourself other than maybe swing the hammer, right? I'm like, hey, go check on the projects, go hire the contractor, be active in how it's getting listed and the description, get the feedback from buyers, negotiate deals, like do all these things yourself. So you understand the process when somebody else that you eventually hire ain't doing it. And they can't jerk you. Yeah. See, the biggest, when you don't know anything, it's like people come to me and be like, I want to sell a course. Who can I go to run my ads? And do you know how to put out value content? Do you know how to sell? Are you converting on social media? Are you converting in conversation? Have you done a webinar to see what questions and feedback people get? They're like, nah, I got a course. I said, well, have you taught people? You think everything you think they need to know is that's it? They're going to have 100 questions that you forgot to answer based off of what you thought that this was going to happen. Right. I'm going to teach you 1, 2, 3. And I taught them everything. No, you didn't. It's questions that you didn't think about that you'll leave on the table. And if you don't walk through the process, you don't understand it. Right. And so being hands-on is one of the biggest things. I do every aspect of my business. I can tell you how to content create. I can tell you how my HR works. I can tell you how my sales department works. I can go into every single system and fluently understand it, to the point where I argue with my content team. And I'm like, yo, these posts shouldn't be back to back. Yeah.
Passive income is a very weird word because the truth is nothing is truly passive when it comes to making money. It's simply a degree of how passive it really is. In real estate, even if you own rental properties and you have property management, you still have to manage the property manager. So that being said, there is some work to be done to earn $100,000 a year in passive income with real estate. So I'm going to give you 3 ways to achieve that goal, and they all vary in difficulty for how passive they truly are. So before we jump into it, if you're new to my channel, my name's Ryan Pineda. I'm a real estate investor and entrepreneur. I flipped over 500 homes and we've got 550 plus units under management right now. And I have 6 current businesses doing over 7 to 8 figures a year. So let's talk about path number 1, and that is the traditional rental income path. For most people, they're just simply thinking about cash flow. And so if you want to make $100,000 in a year, you basically need to figure out how to make $9,000 a month. Now, getting here with traditional rentals is pretty difficult because once you take into consideration all the actual expenses of running a rental, very few properties really cash flow. Most new investors might know the common expenses like your mortgage and property management, but they don't factor in things like vacancy or CapEx. To give you an example, if a property rents for $2,000 a month and your mortgage is $1,500, you're still going to probably end up breaking even or potentially losing money every month. That's because your property management might be 10%, so that's $150. If you factor in you're going to be vacant for 1 month out of the year, that's that's gonna cost you $1,500 in mortgage. So you spread that out over the rest of the year, is basically another $150. Then you've got to account for CapEx, which is basically all of the repairs that you're going to have to make to the property as you hold it. For example, if you're gonna hold this property for the next 5 to 10 years, you know that you're gonna have to replace carpets, you're gonna have to paint again, you're gonna have just nicks and bruises on the property as time goes on. You might even have to do a big replacement like a roof or an AC, depending on if you replaced it when you initially bought it. So basically, you're gonna come up with this budget that you're gonna spend for the next 5 years on capital expenditures. And if this budget is, say, $10,000, you're gonna divide that by 60 months, because that's 5 years, and you're basically gonna get $166. So once you factor all these things in, that $2,000 a month in rent you're making is not cash flowing $500 because your mortgage is $1,500. You're actually breaking even because of all of these expenses that come with running a rental property. So the question to ask yourself is, well, how the heck are you gonna get there if you're barely making cash flow on these houses? Well, there are a few ways to get around this. The first way is the way I wouldn't recommend, and that's just putting more money down so that you have a lower mortgage payment and you can actually cash flow each month. In this scenario, let's say you're now cash flowing $300 a month. Well, in that case, you're gonna need 30 properties at $300 a month to make $9,000 a month. And for most people, that's just not gonna be possible. So what else could you do? Well, another thing you can do is get into Airbnb. I've had Airbnbs for over 5 years now, and they've been wildly successful. When I initially bought my first one back in 2017, I bought it for $200,000, and it was renting for over $4,000 a month. My mortgage was only $1,200, and so we were making over $4,000 a month in gross revenue. Now, I still had to pay my cleaner and property management and everything else, but I was netting over $1,000 a month. And since I've held that property for the last 5 years, the rents have increased and the value of the property has more than doubled. So Airbnb has been really good to me over the years, and I am a big fan of it. And we actually have a program called Pro Host where we can teach you how to get started in Airbnb today, even if you don't have a lot of money. So if you're interested in that, you can go to wealthyprohost.com or click the link below to book a call with our team. But here's the thing, at the end of the day, if you're gonna go with the rental play to get to $100,000 a month in passive income, Airbnb is probably gonna be your quickest way. You could definitely buy homes in the Midwest that might cash flow better on paper, but for me, I'm an appreciation investor. I love investing in markets like Vegas and California, and I know a lot of people have success in other markets like Texas and Florida and other appreciating markets. Just because I know if I'm gonna hold a property for the next 5 to 10 years, I would rather get appreciation because that's gonna make me way more money than any kind of cash flow would, which is going to tie into one of our other methods here later on. But as I finish up here on the rental part, if we're saying that cash flow is not that great other than Airbnb, why would I want to buy rentals? Well, with rentals, you're gonna get so many amazing benefits. There are 4 key pillars when you buy a rental that you're going to get as a benefit. Number 1 is appreciation. We already talked about that. Real estate always goes up in the long run, so you are going to get appreciation, which is great. The second reason is cash flow. We've also talked about that, so if you're able to build in enough margin between your rent and what you're paying and all your expenses, then you can make cash flow every single month. The third reason is principal pay down. So with all of this cash flow coming in, you're also paying down the debt on your mortgage, and so this is an amazing thing with real estate, unlike other investments where not only is my debt decreasing because my renters are paying for it, but the value of the home is also increasing because of appreciation. And so your equity starts to widen tremendously by holding rental property. But the fourth pillar, and it's probably my favorite one, are the tax advantages. By buying real estate, you can get more tax deductions than any other vehicle out there, hands down. There's something called depreciation that allows you to write off losses that didn't necessarily happen. To break it down, depreciation works like this. You're able to write off the building value of a home over 27.5 years. So let's say that I have a house that's worth $300,000, and we're saying that the land is worth $25,000 and the building is worth $275,000. In this scenario, I could take the building value, which is $275,000, and divide it by 27.5 years. Well, that gives you $10,000 each year that you get to take as a write-off on your taxes. And that money adds up because if you're in the top tier tax bracket and you're paying 40%, that means you're getting a $4,000 write-off every year. But to take it one step even further, and what all the big shots do, is they get what's called cost segregation. And with the cost segregation, you're allowed to take a much bigger deduction for depreciation in year 1 of buying that property. So in this case of buying the $300,000 home, With a cost segregation, there's a chance that I could get a $100,000 write-off in year 1. Now, there's a lot of mechanics to how that works. I don't want to get into that today, but just know tax benefits are actually one of the reasons why people buy real estate, and maybe one of the biggest reasons why the wealthy do. Because once you start getting a $100,000 tax deduction, that's $40,000 that I would have paid in taxes anyway. And now I get to put it back in my pocket. So when you start thinking about how you can cash flow, one thing you need to factor into your equation is how much you're actually saving this year that you would have given away to the government. In this scenario I'm talking about, if I go buy $1 million of property right now, and I go do a cost segregation and I get a $300,000 write-off, well, I would have paid over $100,000 in taxes on that $300,000. And so even if the property does not cash flow, the fact that I got to keep $100,000 in my pocket is basically like making $100,000 in passive income. All I had to do was buy that property. I didn't have to do anything else to get this money in my pocket. So that could kind of be a secondary path that we talk about, but I'll include it here in this first path of just buying rental properties. The moral of the story is you don't necessarily have to only look at just the cash flow you're receiving as passive income. You really need to look at the tax savings that you're getting from buying the properties, because that's a different kind of passive income that's not necessarily coming into your pocket. It's money you would have had to give. So let's talk about path number 2 to getting there then. If we know that cash flows one way and it might be somewhat hard due to cash flow being non-existent with higher rates, how else can you make $100,000 a year in real estate passively? Well, you can go the method of buying rentals and flipping them years down the road. So to execute this plan, you're gonna have to have a longer time frame. It's not like you're gonna go make $100,000 a year passively in year 1. This requires you to start buying rentals in the right markets that are going to appreciate. If you do this, you'll be able to sell them off for 6-figure profits down the road. For example, I was telling you about the Big Bear property I bought in 2017 for $200,000. That property is now worth $450,000. So by just buying that one property, I could go and sell it now and make a $250,000 profit, which is basically 2 years of passive income that I'm looking for. So if you want to go this method, it's actually not that hard. It's way easier than method 1. Just simply buy one property a year. Now, once you've built up this property stack for 5 years and you haven't sold any, in year 6, sell the property you bought in year 1. It now has 5 years of appreciation. You also had principal pay down. You may have made some cash flow. You also got some tax benefits, and you're now going to sell it, and you're probably going to make a 6-figure profit if you bought correctly. And then you simply rinse and repeat. In year 7, you're going to sell the property you bought in year 2, and all along the way, you're still buying properties, replenishing the stash. And if you really want to get aggressive with it, you could take the money you're profiting from the property sales and 1031 exchange it into the next deal. Then you're not paying any tax on the gain, and you're getting another property that you can go sell later on and get money. Now you might be saying, Ryan, how would I make the money if I'm just reinvesting it into the next deal and doing a 1031 exchange? Well, you can actually do a cash out refinance on a 1031 and not have to pay any taxes at all. So if you have no idea what I'm talking about, a 1031 exchange is simply when you sell a piece of real estate, and instead of taking the profit and going to your bank account, the government allows you to exchange that property for a better property. So you're going to take this property that you just sold, and you're going to go take those funds and now buy a new property with those funds through an intermediary who's going to handle the transaction for you. Now, once you've sold and then bought this new property, you now own it and you don't have to pay any tax on the gain. But the cool thing is, now that you own this property, you can do whatever you want with it. If you bought a really good deal, you can now cash out refinance on it and pull some of that equity out, say $100,000. And now you've got $100,000 in your bank account, and you didn't pay any tax on getting the $100,000 or selling the original property. So this is a great way to make $100,000 passively, and all you have to do is just buy a property every single year. Now imagine if you bought 2 a year, or 3 a year, or 4 a year. Now you're gonna start making a lot more than $100,000, and your net worth is gonna start to explode and increase. To give you another example, back in 2019, I bought a flip for $525,000. We ended up putting about $150,000 into it, and we tried to flip it but couldn't. So I ended up keeping it as a rental. Fast forward forward a few years, that property is now worth $1.2 million, and I'm in the process of selling it and making over $400,000. And also along the way, I was making a lot of cash flow on that property. It was renting out for $6,000 a month, and my mortgage was $4,000. And by the way, I could absolutely keep renting out that property and be great, but I know that I'd rather have $400,000 from it and go find the next thing to invest that $400,000 in, because I can make my money move quicker. So selling off rentals is a great strategy to get $100,000 a year passively. Now let's go into strategy number 3. So this strategy is the easiest of the bunch, but it's going to require that you have capital saved up in order for it to work. So essentially, instead of you trying to go find all these deals to buy and manage yourself, you're just going to invest in a fund. Now, most real estate funds are targeting a 20+% IRR. IRR stands for internal rate of return. And this is basically how much you made each year once the deal is finally complete. And by complete, I mean either sold or refinanced. Now, here's the thing with real estate and funds. You're not really making much money during the years of cash flow. You might make 3 to 5% on your money those years, but what's gonna happen is you're gonna make your real money once the property is sold. And so you're gonna get all of your investment back plus a large profit if everything went right. And in turn, what happens is you now take all of that profit and you spread it out across the life of the investment and see what the IRR was. And that's typically how it gets to 20+%. Now, obviously every fund's different. There are some that don't do as good. There are some that do a lot better, but I'm just giving you a general explanation. So basically, to make $100,000 a year at 20% IRR, you would need $500,000, because 20% of $500,000 is $100,000. So you do need a lot of capital in order to make that happen, but this one is the most passive out of all of them. You don't have to find any deals, you don't have to manage, you literally just give your money to whoever that real estate fund is, and then you're just chill. And if that sounds like something you wanna do, I have a fund called Pineda Capital, which you guys can go check out at pinedacapital.com and book a call with my team today. We're actually starting a brand new single family real estate fund where we're gonna be buying houses here in Las Vegas that I believe are going to appreciate and have massive value in the next 5 to 10 years. Well, and like look at, the market today, right? All these people that were banking on passive income with stocks or crypto or even real estate, and the market just goes into a frenzy everywhere, right? Businesses, laying people off and all this stuff. And it's like, no matter what, and I know that you've experienced this, like for me, it's just like, dude, the more things we got going on, the more problems we have, right? Oh, yeah. And it's just like, how are we going to solve this problem now? All right, this investment looks like crap now. That was something I learned from guys like you. I learned from other guys ahead of us.
You actually don't. You go from saying, I want to get rid of all my problems, to now you get to a point where I want to solve bigger problems. Mm-hmm. It's a complete different paradigm, right? Yeah. Completely different paradigm is you are now seeking out much larger problems to get much larger checks. Yeah. For me, what happened to me this year is we have a little over 30 Airbnbs in Atlanta, Georgia. Mm. Okay. Atlanta, Georgia got hammered.
Why do you have?
I just have a big student base there, and I buy probably 60% of my deals in Atlanta from my students because they're just so active there.
Got it.
Ton of sub 2 deals in Atlanta and seller finance deals.
Okay.
And I've got a 500 unit multifamily that we're closing this month there as well. My biggest deal ever, $109 million deal.
Wow.
That's a big deal. So Atlanta changes their laws on Airbnbs. You can only have one property per license. Bro, it changed my business. My business overnight, we had to hire a full-time person just to convert our Airbnbs into midterm rentals, and some of them sober living, because we couldn't handle too many midterm rentals on the market all at the same time. That happens in like a week.
Yeah.
A week.
It's crazy.
So the whole market will change. And so people that believe nothing's going to change, I'm going to get my 20,000 and I'm going to chill and like be on a beach, that does not exist.
No.
And my thing back to those people is, how dare you? Like for me, I look at those people and go, you acquired resources, relationships, skills, money, and all this stuff, and you're going to go chill on a beach? Mm-hmm. Think about the hundreds of people that could, in your own church or other places, that you could hire people, you could improve other people's lives. It is your responsibility to do more, is my thing.
No, I'm with you 100%.
So what happens if I don't fit the criteria? Maybe I'm just a normal YouTuber and I talk about the skies falling all day and markets are crashing and I'm not actually investing.
Here's how you do it then. So on the flip side of, you're not going to go real estate pro or materially participate, manage your rentals and go that route. On the other side is you can find a business that you can passively invest in, which we have a good example here at the firm. We have a client that used to own a company and now it kicks off maybe $1 million a year of cash flow to him. He doesn't own it, or he owns a piece now, but he's not active in the business. He is somebody that has a W-2 job, but gets $1 million on the side from this business that he started.
Can we let's get True Books there?
Okay. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I know, right? Okay, so he's working his W-2 job and he gets a check for $1 million a year from a passive business. Real estate and rental real estate is considered passive to the IRS. That's why they're giving you, hey, this is passive. You have to go through all these rules to do this.
Right.
What he does is, since he has passive income of let's say $1 million
from True Books.
Yeah. He just acquires all of this real estate because it's passive and offsets the passive income. So maybe all he's paying tax on now is his W-2, not this million.
You would have to have a ton of passive income.
Exactly. So it's either you're going to go real estate pro
and wipe out your active,
or you just focus on, like, so we call them pigs, passive income generators. Pigs. Yeah. So you grow the pigs, right? And then you just go buy real estate on the side. Then you don't even need to worry about this real estate pro stuff. You're just buying your real estate to offset your passive investment. So that's why we tell people, like,
where are all these animals, you know? Like when we were getting our training from Gary Harper, right? We renamed our COOs to bulls.
Bulls, yeah, business unit leaders, yeah. I know, right?
And now,
yeah, the pig. I was laughing when I heard that.
So I need to own a bunch of pigs.
That
are run by bulls.
Yeah. Yeah. You have a whole farm over here. Yeah. Pineda farm. Yeah.
McDonald's farm.
But that's it though. And that's where it's great for him, because he's like, I don't even need to worry about this real estate pro stuff. I just have $1 million coming to me. I just got to acquire this over here, and they offset each other.
Well, I'm guessing that $1 million's more than his W-2.
Way more.
Yeah.
I think the W-2 at this point is just for fun. Like he's just bored. But yeah, exactly. He started up this company and then sold off his piece. And so that's where, if you can truly go that route, that's easier. That's what I would have to do as a CPA, right? Look at me. I run a CPA firm. I deal with real estate people all day. I'm not a real estate pro. I can't be. My wife could be, but she's also not. She's in finance too. So if I wanted to go that route,
there's no like loophole for you as, you know, a real estate specific accountant to like be like, yeah, I'm in real estate. Like I'm literally talking to real estate people all day, every day.
No, because when you look at those criteria of the 9, it's like, it's literally construction, reconstruction, development, redevelopment, brokerage, leasing. So like, unless you fall under one of those, right? Unless you follow under one of those, then you're right.
This is, by the way, for anyone listening, this is how our conversations always go. I'm like, Matt,
there's gotta be a way.
I know there's a way.
Yeah.
Like, read the book.
Yeah. The wealthy way. Yeah.
Yep. There's always the wealthy way.
Yeah.
The wealthy way is both gray area and gold.
Which is good though, because that's also right. Look at how our firm started. That was the spur of the firm, is like, now we're getting clients like YouTube influencers and things like that, to where, you know, they won't go to old CPAs because old CPAs are saying like, yeah, you can't do that. You can't write off something that you show in a YouTube video.
And I'm like, oh, we will.
So that's where, you know, right, you need a CPA that's to that point involved in what you're doing. They understand what you're doing.
They understand your business.
Yes. Yeah.
Recently, I shared a screenshot on Twitter about how I was making $1,200 a day passively from my NFTs. And I didn't think much of it, but people started to share and comment on the post like crazy. They wanted to know what the NFT was, how it was possible, and how much I had invested into the project. Well, in today's video, I'm gonna reveal step by step how I've built that NFT collection that is making me $1,200 a day. If you're new to my channel, my name is Ryan Pineda. I'm a real estate investor and entrepreneur, and I just launched The Wealthy Way, which is a project that is completely free. If you go to wealthyway.com, you can get access to our Discord community, you can get our planner, and the Wealth Builder Academy completely free, so go check it out. Now, if you've been subscribed to my channel, then you know I've been talking about the metaverse and NFTs for the last few months, and I've publicly stated that one of my big goals is to launch my own NFT in 2022. But in order to launch mine successfully, the smart thing to do is to join other successful projects and see what made them successful. So one of the NFT projects I bought into is called Neo Tokyo. I did a full review of what exactly Neo Tokyo is on another video, which I will link to down below. The short story is this. There's a guy named Alex Becker, who is a pretty big YouTuber. He's got over 1 million subscribers. Along with a big following, he has a company called Hyros, which we actually use at Future Flipper. They help us track our ads better. So just from watching him and using his company, I knew that he was really skilled, and if he was gonna launch an NFT project, it was probably gonna be pretty successful. Well, he did it in a way that was super unique from everyone else. Instead of minting the NFTs and charging people a price, he ended up giving away all the NFTs for free. And it wasn't like he just picked people at random and gave them NFTs. He made them compete to win them. In order to win these NFTs, people had to solve riddles, they had to play games, and if you won those games and you solved those riddles, you were eventually rewarded with these NFTs. Now at the time, I did not participate in any of these because I just didn't have time to do it. I didn't know how it was gonna play out, and I was busy with some other things. This was a very foolish move on my part looking back, but it is what it is. But after seeing how well he built the community and how hyped everyone was, I realized that I wanted to get in on this project, and so I bought my first Citizen. Now, a Citizen is created by owning 4 different NFTs. You've got to have an ID, you've got to have a vault, you've got to have an item, and you've got to have land. Once you get those 4 pieces together, you can upload them, and they all combine to form one new NFT, which is a Citizen. And you might be asking, what's the point of having a Citizen? Well, you get access to a ton of things which are extremely valuable. One of them, which is passive income. Now, the passive income is great, and I'm gonna get into how exactly that works, but for me, it's actually one of the smaller perks of being a citizen in Neo Tokyo. One of the biggest perks is that the community is vetting projects constantly. They've got people submitting NFT, crypto gaming, and metaverse projects to be reviewed by the entire community. And the community has a team of researchers that vets these projects with extreme scrutiny, seeing as the crypto industry is very scammy. And so for it to become a project that the community is actually gonna endorse, it's gotta go through a ton of layers to get there. And then the community has to vote on whether or not it's something that they wanna support. So for me as an investor, it saves me a bunch of time and is gonna allow me to get into projects that are vetted and that I trust. Also on top of that, we get access to special whitelists so we can get into these projects before other people. And since we're on the topic of investing, let me be clear that none of this is investing advice. Make your own decisions. I'm just explaining to you why I am in the project and what the process is for me as an investor. So anyways, that's a really big perk for me because if I get into the right projects, then I can hopefully make a lot of money. But Becker has also said that those who are in Neo Tokyo are gonna get a chance to invest in his own company. Now, as I said previously, his company Hyros is top notch. If I could have invested in Hyros years ago when it first started, I would have did it. But now we're getting an opportunity to do it again, but this time for crypto gaming. So I'm really excited to get exclusive access into investing into his company. Now, even though the investing side in the community is cool, Neo Tokyo also has real gaming value. On January 15th, they are launching the Meta Tournament, which is going to be a huge gaming tournament streamed live on Twitch, and they've got a whole bunch of sponsors putting up millions of dollars. And the only way to compete in the tournament is to have a citizen. So we're gonna be able to play these games and potentially win hundreds of thousands of dollars. Now, I personally probably won't be playing in those games. I actually started a gaming guild so I could have professional gamers use my characters and play for me. But nonetheless, it is really cool what they're doing with the tournament. It's something that has never been done before in crypto gaming. And honestly, if that's all Neo Tokyo was, it would be more than enough value for me to justify why I invested so much money into it. But there are still other perks. Obviously, in the long run, I'm expecting the value of these NFTs to go up. But the beauty is, I also get passive income during this time. Here's how the passive income works. There are 2 types of citizens. There's an S1 citizen and an S2 citizen. S1 citizens produce bytes every single day. It can range anywhere from 1 byte a day to 15 bytes a day, depending on what the citizen is made up of. If you have an S2 citizen, it can be used to play in games, but it does not create passive income. Now, the price of bytes at the time of filming this is around $95. And that's kind of been the stable point for them. They fluctuated between $80 all the way to $180 whenever there was a big announcement for what bytes are needed for. So you might be asking, well, what would you actually use bytes for then? For one, I'm guessing they're gonna use them in the meta tournament. There's probably gonna be some sort of entry fee to get in the tournament itself. Number 2, you're able to use these bytes to buy other NFTs in Neo Tokyo. For instance, you could mint a new ID or mint a new piece of land. A third use for them was how the original S2 citizens were created. Essentially, when they were minted, you were able to burn as many bytes as you wanted, and that was gonna dictate how rare the citizen was. So for me, I burned 520 bytes, which equated to about $52,000. That's right, I just burned $52,000 because I wanted a more rare S2 citizen. It might seem absolutely crazy, but here's the thing. That citizen that cost me about $52,000 is probably worth over $200,000 today. So burning the bytes ended up being worth it. And this is exactly why I think bytes price will always be pretty stable. because there are going to be so many different use cases for the bytes. A problem with other crypto coins is they don't have a reason to use them, and so people just only sell them and they tank the coin. But Neotokyo is not like that. There are many different ways you can use bytes, and citizens know you're probably going to make more by holding your bytes and using them in the game, or using them for some other thing that we don't even know about yet. Becker has even stated that his intention is to make bytes used in other games beyond Neotokyo. So imagine a time where bytes are somewhat the reserve currency of crypto gaming. That would make bytes pretty valuable, and the only people that can produce them are S1 citizens. So I know it's a lot of information, but with that being said, I currently own 3 S1 citizens. Between those 3 citizens, combined they produce 12 bytes a day. And because bytes price is worth almost $100, I'm making $1,200 a day passively. Like literally, I don't do anything other than claim my bytes. Now, if I wanted to, I could go exchange those bytes for Ethereum or even dollars. The pool is pretty liquid, so it's not hard to swap out. But I'm personally holding on to all my bytes because I believe using them in game or using them for things we don't know about yet is going to be far more valuable than just swapping them out. Case in point, when I minted my S2 citizen and I burned $52,000 worth of bytes, that was a pretty crazy move, but it was the right move. I can go flip that citizen right now and make $150,000, but I'm holding that citizen because I think it's gonna be more valuable in the long run as well. But anyways, that's how I'm making $1,200 a day. I'm also looking at a bunch of other NFT projects.
So I was thinking about this just in general with retirement and working and things like that. You know, somebody might take what I just said and said, man, well, I don't want to do that then. If I have to constantly stay top of mind, like there's no end to it. And the reality is we're kind of fed this lie that, hey, you know, you can work really hard and then, you know, get enough passive income and you can retire. And it's like, no, there's not really that thing of passive income. There's always like maintenance to a degree of there's basically, how passive is it?
Yeah, I don't think it really is passive. And then here's the other thing I've realized. Somebody who was able to create the passive income that they desired, 10 grand, 20 grand, $30,000, that type of person that hits that number is a performer. And so what happens, they're somebody who achieves things. They get to 30,000 a month in passive income and they go, okay, what's next? I don't know anybody that just hits $30,000 and goes, okay, I don't have a new goal or I don't have a new thing to.
Yeah.
God did not put you on this earth to learn how to make $30,000 passive income and then just chill.
No.
You acquired skills, confidence, relationships, resources, and all these things along the way to get to that 30,000. That now what, you're just going to hold to yourself and be selfish?
Well, I've said this a lot. As a Christian, nowhere in the Bible does it ever say to retire. It's not, you will not find it anywhere.
Interesting.
Like you listen to any of the disciples, any of the people who are following Jesus, they all were preaching and going out there discipling until they died.
Right.
Like, and they're actually killed.
Right.
So like they're killed for their job of just going out there. Nobody like did enough, got to their level of like, yep, you know, I planted this many churches, I'm good. And then they just retired. It doesn't exist.
It was a lie that was fed to me too. Like when I was 23, 24, people would tell me, once you hit $10,000 a month in passive income, you'll never want to work again. $10,000 a month? Really?
It doesn't get you that far.
It does not get you far at all. In fact, I think 20,000 is the new 10,000, right? There were people like, I want to hit six figures.
I just had Brad Lee on and he said, we were talking about that 20,000 mark kind of being like where you can actually start really living.
Yeah.
But he was like,
with that.
When I was growing up, everyone wanted to be a millionaire. And he's like, being a millionaire ain't all that anymore.
No.
And he's like, the way that I envision a millionaire, a super rich person is like, you better be a billionaire. That's what Brad was saying.
Yeah.
And he's like, but in like the practical side of things, you better be worth at least 10 million, like to really be wealthy.
Right. And I think also going along with Christian values, right? Like Jesus didn't just go to people and help them and say, okay, keep it to yourself.
Yeah.
Right. Like Jesus came to people, helped them, mended their situation, gave them a parable, a story, whatever the thing was, and then said, go tell everybody. So your job isn't to just get to a point and then chill. Your job is to get to a point where you are going to retire. But what you're going to do is you're going to retire. Let's say you hit 20,000 or 30,000 a month in passive. You will retire from the worry of how to pay your bills. And then at that point, it's like, now the real work really begins. How do you change or actually create real change in other people's lives other than just your own.
Yeah. And I guess my point with it is like, even once you get to that 30,000, there is still work into making sure that that still makes you 30,000.
Bro, this is what happened. I got to a point where our passive income was over $20,000. And then I go, wait, this isn't very passive. I need to hire like 3 more people to manage this $20,000 passive.
Yeah, now it's 10.
Now it's 10.
Yeah.
And so what I learned is I was like, okay, I need to actually get to like 100,000 to be to a point where I'm at 60, 70,000 because you have to have a team of people for it to truly be 95% passive. And even then you still have to have meetings every week. What's going on? Hey, Pace, we have an eviction that's taking 4 months. What do you want to do? Should we file a lawsuit? Blah, 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 blah. That stuff never ends.
Yeah.
Never ends. So if people that are like, well, I just want to own real estate, guys, does not matter. It's always going to be happening.
Thanks for making it to the end. The good news is I've got another one that I know you're going to like, and all you got to do is click it right here, linking it right here. All you got to do is just click it, and you're going to see this new episode that you're going to love.
Like I said, there's so many times it's like you should just do this one thing and do only that, and that's the advice I would give anybody. But for me, I'm just like, I want to do it all. At the end of the day, like, it's like I don't want to lose money or ever fail, but if I do, it's like I always say I learned the hard way so you can learn the easy way to my audience, right?